What's up, military and veterans? The time has come for you to destroy your financial freedom goals, and luckily, there's an event coming up just for you.
The Veterans for Financial Freedom organization is hosting a seminar in San Diego, California this February on financial literacy, entrepreneurship, real estate investing, and some of our Agent Goldmine guests are rocking the stage as speakers.
Get your ticket at veteransforfinancialfreedom.org/Agent Goldmine and take action towards your goals today. Now, enjoy the show.
He is a CPA by trade. He's also an agent with us. He has an author of the best-selling book called The Accounting Quick Start Guide, and you built a 28-unit portfolio in less than 3 years. This is the Agent Goldmine, where you'll find real talk, and ambition. We're here to build real businesses and be more than your average agent. We want to know what the killers are actually doing within their businesses, the reality of it, all tactical, no fluff. So we're here to find out. Please share and enjoy. Welcome back to another episode of The Agent Goldmine, where Shelby and I are introducing and interviewing Josh Bauerle. And a little bit about Josh, for those that do not know, he is a CPA by trade. He's also an agent with us. He has an author of the best-selling book called The Accounting Quick Start Guide, and you're making an even bigger presence now on social media. You and your wife, Josh and his wife, Courtney, are a team, both a domestic team as agents within our crew, as well as real estate investors together. And you've built a 28-unit portfolio in less than 3 years. And then you sold a lot of it off in 2021. And now you're working on building your portfolio back up, acquiring 10 to 15 rentals per year. And you're also flipping on the side, and you're an agent, and you got kids. You're out in the Columbus, Ohio area. For those that want to reach out to him, his Instagram is Josh_Bauerle. I'm going to spell Bauerle. It's Bauerle. And I would love to talk about both like CPA stuff and your social media stuff. You and I got actually connected through a CPA because you were helping out with like my file, and you saw the my tax returns or like the income, not just with selling, but also the rev share. And that's when you were like, whoa, what the heck is this? And so that's how we got connected. And next thing, what do you know? You're both on the team, and we're stoked to have you. So Josh, welcome to the Agent Goldmine.
Yeah, thanks for having me. So it's kind of crazy. After I did your tax return, I saw what you were doing, started following you, and I was like, man, this is crazy. So I told my wife, we're going to join this team and I'm going to be on this podcast. And here we are.
Dude, that's it's a cool story. I freaking love it. Okay, Josh, before we dig into the social media stuff that Ali talked about, also like your perspective with so much CPA background, and I know a bunch of agents just don't know about like taxes, what's right, what's not. So I want to dig into all of that. But first, can you give us a little context on you? What were the things in your life that kind of created you into the human that you are to have accomplished so much and still have really big goals looking ahead?
Yeah. I mean, I guess I had good parents, and my parents were both entrepreneurs. So that was kind of always something that like I didn't sit there and say I want to be an entrepreneur when I grow up, but it was never like scary to do that. Right. Like I started my first business when my wife was pregnant with twins. And it was just never a thing. We just did it and it happened. So it's just never been scary. It's just always been something that I was willing to do, willing to take that risk. And I think that's the biggest thing with entrepreneurship, right? You gotta be willing to take that dive and take that risk.
Oh my gosh. So what before the CPA stuff though? Was that, out of college, was that kind of your first thing or what
Yeah.
happened?
So I switched my major. I was like a 6-year bachelor degree because I kept switching my major, switching colleges, had no idea what I wanted to do. Finally settled on accounting, got my CPA. And then I was one of those people that would go from every 2 years, I'm switching jobs because I don't like this job. I bet I want to be a financial advisor. Oh, that doesn't work. I want to work in taxes. So I was just all over the place. And I finally realized it wasn't the job that was a problem. It was a job. I needed to be my own boss. I'm just not someone that can work for other people. So as soon as I started that, I just randomly started my own accounting firm, and boom, it just all clicked into place. And here we are.
Being that you work with Courtney, your spouse, both on investing first and now agents, is that something that your spouse was already wanting to do? Or was there like a conversation of, hey, did you have to win her over?
Yeah, for sure. So she did not come from a family that's like entrepreneurs. Like that's not in her background. And that was really scary for her. So I think it's just like one step at a time, right? Like I had to start this accounting firm and prove to her that it worked and start bringing in income. And then she gets behind it. And then I started wanting to invest in rental properties and she's like very uneasy about it, right? She's never been someone that's known people that own rental properties. So we had to buy one and it worked. And then we bought two and just slowly build it up. And as she sees that it works, she comes on board with it. So to me, that's the key. If you have a spouse that's doubting it, you can't get their doubts away by telling them it's going to work, right? You got to show them. You got to slowly start to show success, and then they get on board with it.
Okay, so what I'm curious about is your experience as a CPA and how it pertains to what you know now about like real estate agents and how many, I'm sure you look out there and you're like, man, everyone's just really up and they don't even know it. Can you share some of the insights that you have, maybe like the top things that we're all doing wrong that we could fix in our businesses?
Yeah. So I think the big thing is most agents are coming from previously being an employee of some sort, right? Whatever it is, whether you worked a 9 to 5 somewhere, you were an employee, you weren't responsible for bookkeeping, you weren't responsible for setting up an entity, and your taxes were simple. You didn't have all these complexities. And now you go into real estate, and at first it almost feels like you're still an employee, right? Because you have this broker that maybe feels like a boss, and you have other agents that are helping you out, and you don't realize necessarily that you are a business owner. And with that, you have to figure out, do I need to set up an entity? Do I need to open up separate bank accounts for this business, separate credit cards? How am I handling the bookkeeping? Because every dollar coming in and out of that business has to be tracked. And then the tax complexities come in, right? It's not as simple as, oh, I put my W-2 into TurboTax and I'm done. You have to figure out what type of income is taxable? What can I deduct? What can't I deduct? What type of entities should I be taxed at? So it's just all these various complexities that I don't see a lot of agents either doing it all or doing properly. And I think if you just really start to focus in that you are a business, you're no different than someone that has whatever, a shoe store down the street. Like that's easy to see as a business. But for a lot of people, it's hard to see that as an agent, you're an independent contractor, which means you are a business in and of itself.
Where do you see that a lot of agents mess up? What's like a couple of common myths that you see that you can just squash right here?
Yeah, I mean, the biggest thing by far is they are not doing any kind of bookkeeping or proper bookkeeping. They're getting to year end and then they're trying to throw something together, whether it's a spreadsheet or giving their poor CPA a box of receipts and telling them to figure it out. And it's just got to be something that you're doing throughout the year. At the minimum, you have to be using some type of accounting software. I'd use cloud-based accounting software. So think like QuickBooks Online or Zero, the two big ones. You have to be tracking that throughout the year. Number one, for tax purposes, like obviously your CPA needs to know that so you cannot overpay on taxes. You can deduct everything you're entitled to. But maybe even more importantly, like how do you know whether your business is succeeding or failing? If I can't look at an income statement and say, oh, maybe my commissions were 20,000 this month, but I spent $18,000 generating leads. So I only made $2,000. And so many people get to someone like me at the end of the year. Oh, I had a great year. I made $400,000 in commissions, and then I do their tax. Yeah, but you spent $380,000 in all your expenses. So you made $20,000. They just had no idea because they're not properly tracking it.
I have tried. I have tried QuickBooks Online. My goodness, is it overwhelming and just entirely too much. I don't wanna have to spend, like, hours just even learning. Look, and this is the simple, like, the whatever the basic QuickBooks is. Um, what are and you also mentioned Zero, which I hadn't heard of. What are some other ones that might be more user-friendly?
Yeah, and yeah, I mean, so a lot of people like QuickBooks Online. That's probably the most popular. I personally like Xero, Xero. I think it's just a little bit more user friendly. There's a few other ones, FreshBooks. Honestly, they're basically all the same. There's a few different interfaces. Some are a little bit more user friendly than others. The key is you've got to get in and learn it and do it. And it's that initial getting in and figuring it out. And it just, you look at it and you're like, this is overwhelming. Like, how am I supposed to do this? And I've seen your stuff, Ali. I did your taxes. You did a spreadsheet and it was really freaking good. So that worked for you. But now, like, you got to take the next step and get that accounting software. Because number one, if you're audited, the IRS is going to look at the spreadsheet and be like, yeah, this is super organized. And I like this more than most people's, but I want to see software that's linking to your account. So look, if it's something and you look at it and this is overwhelming, I can't figure this out, I don't have time for this, you can hire someone that does all of this for you. So there's a company called that's like bench.co, I think is the website. And they have packages as low as $250 a month where they're going to hook up to all your bank accounts for you and they're going to sit there and handle it. And you're not going to be completely uninvolved. Like they're going to have to email you and be like, hey, you spent $50 at Walmart last week. What was that for? And you'd be like, oh, I bought a new printer for my office, whatever it is. So you're not going to be completely hands off, but you're going to not have to deal with figuring it out and setting it up. And there's a million. You can hire individuals that do it for you. You can hire companies that do it for you. But in the grand scheme of things, it's not that expensive to make sure that this is done right.
Josh, I have over the years gone through my fair share of bookkeepers and CPAs, to be honest. And I'm always telling myself that next year will be different. Like I'm your worst nightmare for sure. And so how do I go through how do I hire a bookkeeper and know that they're legit and not because this is the other thing that I do every month. I'm like, because they'd be like, oh, we're just still catching up. And I would just let that slide for so many months. And then I'm just
Yep.
constantly help me.
Yeah. So bookkeeper is a lot like real estate agent, right? Where there's a very low barrier to entry. Like you don't have to have a special license for it. You don't have to have someone telling you you're able to do it. So there's a lot of really, really bad ones out there. And I mean, there's no real test that I can give you like, oh, this is how you figure out if they're good and bad. But number one, I'd figure out someone that specializes, like they should work with a lot of real estate agents. Don't go get someone that they work with, whatever, an Amazon e-commerce seller. Like they should be specializing in real estate in general and work with a lot of real estate agents so that they know your business, know what typical deductions are involved with it, and just know how to set it all up. And then from there, I would get specific recommendations. Like you should be able to find another agent that works with them. And yeah, this person's awesome. Like they give me my reports on time every single month.
They all came from recommendations.
I know. It's a really hard
It's
thing.
hard.
It's a really hard space to find the right person in. So here's what I do. Number one, I would give them a couple months. Like they better be giving you those reports at the end of every month, as long as you're giving them what they need. If you're not giving them what they need, they can't give you what you need. But if you're doing your
Totally.
part and they're not giving you yours, then it's time to switch. And I would
Okay.
also, if you have a CPA that you're working with separately, like after a month or two, send them what they're doing and be like, hey, what does this look like? Does this look good to you? Because as CPAs, we've worked with a ton of bookkeepers and we can spot pretty easily whether they're good or bad.
And correct me. So you have built and sold 2 CPA businesses now. And I believe you have a non-compete. So
Yep.
do you have a recommendation for listeners out there or, for me, for a CPA who you know personally, trust, does really good work, works with real estate agents and investors?
Thank you for listening. Out of respect for your time, we want to make this show as valuable as possible for you. So if you have any feedback on how we can improve, please let us know. DM us at Ali the Agent and The Shelby Show.
Yeah, and I would say the number one thing, they don't have to actually be a CPA. But CPA is kind of the catch-all. I'm a CPA, but you don't have to be a CPA to be a tax professional. So there's enrolled agents as well. They're really good. And the one that Ali works with, Natalie Collodi, she is really good. She's featured on Bigger Pockets a lot. She specializes in real estate. So she's done agents, she's done investors. She's a big one I would look at if you can still get her while she's still available.
I have a very specific question as to an app. So going back to the different types of bookkeepers. There's an app that I heard of called Hurdler. And I don't think it has any E's though in Hurdler, but I'm paying for this thing too. And because I was like, oh yeah, it's a swipe thing. So think like Tinder. You swipe left. If it's like a business expense, you swipe right. If it's like a personal or if it is business, which one? But I'm like, okay, this is a lot more simple than QuickBooks. Have you heard of Hurdler? That's the first question.
I have not, but they should probably be marketing as the Tinder of accounting. Like, how many people would you get just by saying that?
That's genius.
Okay. Hurdler, maybe you can sponsor this episode. So I think that, okay, granted, you know what? I don't even want to speak about it too much because I haven't used it. I'm paying monthly for this, which is cheaper than I think QuickBooks, but I feel like I'll have some more ownership and I feel like I'll actually be able to use this. But okay, if you don't know about it, it's something that I heard of through the Tom Ferry ecosystem. Actually, Jason Boyce uses Hurdler. I don't know if he uses it for his actual like bookkeeping, but yeah, something to look into maybe.
Yeah, as long as it syncs up to your bank accounts and is pulling that info in automatically and then spitting out a profit and loss and balance sheet, then it's probably going to do a good job.
Okay, cool.
What else? What other Ali said common myths earlier, but like really easy. So we've talked about bookkeeping. We've talked about just like tracking your expenses. What other things would you say off the top of your head?
Yeah, I'd say
Or
the
must
other
use.
big thing is on the tax side, just knowing like what you can and can't deduct. And then so like your entity, most people know to form an LLC if they can. But from there, once you become profitable, should you or can you be taxed as an S corporation, which is going to save you a significant amount of taxes. And you got to talk to your broker about that. Some states allow you as an agent to do that. Some states don't. And some brokers do and some don't. Yes.
Knowing
Help
what
me.
you can and can't deduct, can you go through like a list of examples? Just, fling it at us on what you can or can't.
Yeah. Is it okay to use my favorite example of a
You
stripper?
can do whatever you want. This
All
is your
right.
show, Josh.
Perfect.
We're just here.
So the IRS standard of what is deductible is it has to be ordinary and necessary in your business. And those are super vague. That's what the IRS does. They're vague. They don't give much guidance. The bottom line for me is you have to be able to prove that it increased the bottom line of your business, right? So either what you spent money on helped you bring in more money into your business or helped you cut costs to reduce the expenses in your business. And the standard that I always look at, the case that comes up, is there was this stripper back in the 80s, right? And her name was Chesty Love. And she decided that if she had these gigantic breast implants, she would do really well in her business. So she got them and she deducted them on her taxes. She called them business assets and deducted them on her taxes. And the IRS came in and said that appearance related items are not deductible. We don't care that you show us that you increase your business hundreds of thousands of dollars with these. They are not business because they are appearance related. So Chessie took it all the way to the appeals court and she won because the appeals judge said that no reasonable person would ever get triple G breast implants or whatever it was. And that these were clearly for business. She could clearly show that they increased her bottom line and that they were a business asset. They were deductible. And I think the bottom line for me there is it shows that almost literally anything can be a tax deduction in your business if you can clearly prove how it increased the bottom line of your business. So that's what you need to be thinking about. Everything that you're doing, how is this increasing the bottom line of my business? So like I'm going to a conference and I want to deduct it. I'm going to the Bigger Pockets conference. Yeah, maybe it's mostly real estate investment related, but how can I deduct this as an agent? Did this increase the bottom line of my business? Yeah, I went and talked with 6 people that might be using me on their next flips, whatever it is. So anything you're doing in your life as an entrepreneur, I'd be looking at it and saying, how can I prove this increased the bottom line of my business? And from there, there's a good chance it's going to be deductible.
Let's go further into travel and trips. What should agents do if they plan on going to conferences or even like small, not a formal conference, like a meetup, hey, let's all meet Lake Gaston, North Carolina, and talk business.
For example.
Just for example, like hypothetical, what should agents do beforehand to make sure that everything is good to go?
So travel, there's a lot of people think, oh, as a business owner, I can go travel with my family and bring my laptop and work while I'm there. And now it's a business deduction. And that's not the case. With travel, you have to prove a business purpose for being there. It's got to be something that you had to be there to do, right? So if I'm just working from my computer, I could do that at home as well. That doesn't matter. But if I'm going to North Carolina to do a mastermind with other agents and I'm learning specific things that are going to help me in my business, that is absolutely a business trip. Now, if you're going to go there for 3 days and then spend another 2 weeks just vacationing, that's where things get tricky, right? So you should be spending the majority of the days for business purposes. So if you're going to be at the conference for 3 days and you want to spend another 2 on travel, whatever it is, that's fine. No big deal. Then for people a lot of people like to bring their family with them, right? Like they'll go to one in Florida and maybe hit Disney World when they're done. In that case, you need to figure out what is a direct expense and what is a shared expense. So like flights, you can deduct your flight because you're going to the conference. You cannot deduct your spouse and kids' flight. But a hotel room, you'd have to get a hotel room either way. So the fact that they're in the hotel room with you makes no difference. You can deduct the entire hotel room. So it's splitting that up, figuring out how long you're there, how long you're on business, who's going with you, and all that good stuff.
In food, what about all the little details that go along with, does that go into direct versus, I don't know.
Yeah, no, yeah, good question. Because you're on one meal, right? So you're on one bill usually. So I mean, for me, I'm gonna deduct the entire meal. And meals themselves get tricky because it's typically 50% deductible. Then COVID happened and they wanted to get people to go back to restaurants and they made certain ones 100% deductible. So the bottom line there is don't try to figure that out. Just put it 100% into your accounting software and let your CPA figure out what portion is deductible.
What else related to travel should the audience know about?
Yeah, I mean, it goes back to with any other expense, you have to be able to track it, right? You can't just be like, oh, I went on vacation and I did this. You should be tracking everything you're doing, what the business purpose is. You don't need to be like my dad and save every receipt that you've had since 1971. As long as I would use a credit card, use a business credit card, it's going to show up automatically. That's normally accepted as receipts. But the bottom line is just tracking it. What's my purpose? What did I do? What did I accomplish? How is this increasing my business?
And that's why that at least monthly minimum. Is that your recommendation? A monthly reconciliation of your books?
Absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah. Just
Okay,
for,
cool.
yeah, number one, just for tracking your business and being able to
Yeah.
see those stats every
Dude,
month.
because yeah, I'm the nightmare. And it is always the end of the year when I'm like, dude, this would have been a lot easier to remember what all these things were for had I done it along the way instead of, now. So
Right. And that's what most people do. And look, I'm a CPA. I should know better in like my rental business. I'm not going to touch it until January, and then I'm going to be killing myself to get it all done. So don't do that, but that people do, and it can be done. But if you want the true benefit of bookkeeping, you need to be monitoring it monthly.
Josh, do you happen to have a tracker, a simplified template for tracking their business monthly?
Yeah, I mean, that's where your accounting software is going to have to come in. You're going to have to use Xero, QuickBooks Online, FreshBooks, whatever it is, and you're going to have some type of accounting. That's where if you're just using a spreadsheet, you're going to have to go in and manually do that every month, and that's where it's not going to get done.
all this it's tough because it's just like anything in real estate or in business. We're always looking for some sort of shortcut. Would it be easier if we just did this or maybe turn our, focus away from it and I'll deal with that later. But really this is just like anything else where we have to take the time to figure it out or pay someone accordingly to do it, but there's no way around it. And I'm just saying this really for myself out loud because I've just recently, gone and tackled the automations through like websites, like the triggers and the automated and the entry into the CRM and all of that stuff, which I've been trying to put off for years and have someone else figure out for me. And then this is like another one of these things. Maybe this is my 2024. I'm just going to actually commit to figuring it out because it will change my entire business if I do so. Yo, real quick, this podcast is not free. Cost of admission is sharing with a buddy who'd benefit or throwing it on your Instagram story. Tag us, we'll reshare that.
Right. Yeah. And that's why you hire somebody. Like if you're successful enough to be too busy to do it yourself, then you're successful enough to afford somebody to just do it and get a good person that's actually going to get it done.
Josh, could you talk us through your golden nugget, which I'm looking at right now? Looks super dope. Guys, you can go to theagentgoldmine.com, scroll all the way down to get access to the Goldmine. And Josh brought us a business checklist for super finance nerds, looks like. So Josh, can you walk us through this checklist?
Yeah. So basically it breaks down into 4 separate categories and just a checklist of knowing all the things you have to have. So like setting up your entity, setting up a separate bank account for the business, setting up a separate credit card, and then moving into bookkeeping, whether it's hiring somebody or doing it yourself, getting the accounting software, running a monthly profit and loss statement, a monthly balance sheet, and then taxes, hiring a tax professional, making sure you know what is and is not deductible, getting the proper entity taxation designation. And then on the last part, I do have on increasing the value of your business, which I know you always talk about, Shelby, building a sellable business, which I love. I think more people in real estate should be thinking about that and aren't thinking about that. Like you want what you're doing now to be an asset at some point. You don't just want to stop doing real estate and then it all disappears, right? You want to have an asset that you can eventually sell. So we talk about like various things that you can do to improve the value of that business.
Let's talk more about that, about the future as agents are considering leaving the business or just retiring. At what point? Well, this is hard, right? Because a lot of agents will want to step out of production, but keep their, book of all their clients, friends, sphere. When would agents don't retire? I'm trying to think of when I would want to sell my business. I don't even know when. I guess that's my question is when would you suggest people sell?
Yeah. And my guess is part of the reason people don't retire is because they can't afford to, because they don't have an asset that they can actually sell, right? So that's part of the reason of focusing on this as early on as possible. So that if you get to the point that you don't want to be doing that grind anymore, you do have something you can actually sell and have money after you're done in the business.
How would you go about, okay, let's say I'm ready to sell. I'm ready to sell my business. I want to wipe my hands clean. I no longer want to do the referrals. I'm done. How would I value my real estate agent business?
Yeah. So this is a good question. And so the way it normally looks, so I went to sell my tax business, right? And it was a very clear, a tax business is worth between 1 and 2 times your gross revenue. So that was simple. I just look at what my gross revenue is, and it's worth somewhere between 1 and 2 times that. Every business has its own multiplier. For agents, it's hard to find a specific one because there are not many agents who are building a business that they can actually sell. When I look at brokerages, it looks like it's anywhere between 2 and 5 times your net income. So part of this is going to be going back to this is why you have to have proper accounting. You have to have those financial statements so you can see how profitable your business actually is. And then you can look at it and say, okay, if I make $300,000 in my business, there's a good chance it's going to be worth 2 times that. So $600,000 or $900,000. And there's all various factors that will help determine that. Like, number one, you eventually need to have it so the business is not relying on you, because why is someone else going to buy something that you're going to disappear from and relies entirely on you? So as you start to build, you need to pull yourself out of that as much as possible. What type of systems do you have in place? Can they just immediately walk in and take over exactly what you're doing? Or are they going to have to search through your inbox and figure out how to run this business and how they can get it doing it how they want to do it? So all these things help determine the value. And these are all things you can focus on day one to help 20 years down the line when you go to sell it.
And for listeners, if you are driving and missed, the ability to write that down in his business checklist, the one we're uploading into theagentgoldmine.com, there is a whole section on maximizing your business value. So a lot of things that Josh just hit on about, creating SOPs and additional revenue streams, those types of things that you can read through and think about how to implement them over time within your business. So when you are ready to sell, you're actually able to.
How can we make this a little bit more tactical for agents that are there? Like what specifically? So obviously getting their systems in place. How would an agent that's been working for however many years be able to step out? Does the I think it's almost like chicken or the egg, right? Like if I'm selling my business to Shelby, obviously my book of business knows me. Do I start the introduction to Shelby and then at that point she can take over, or does it happen after it's evaluated? Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, and it can be done a million different ways. So like when I sold my tax practice, both of them, the way it would work, the people that bought it had never met my clients. They'd only known me, and it was a slow phase out. So you kind of phrase it as, hey, Ron and I are merging. Ron's coming on. You'll be starting to talk to Ron. And over a year's time, 2 years time, whatever it is, you slowly start to phase out. So the clients get used to the new owner and less used to you. But I'd say the more you can do up front before you even get to that point, the less time you'll have. So a lot of people get to the point they're going to sell their business. Like they don't want to spend 2 more years helping to do the transition, right? The way you do that is by getting yourself out of that. So whether it's building a team under you that they're going to start to handle stuff. No one you work with gets used to working with any one person, right? You have a team and they go to this person for this and this person for this. So they're already used to working with multiple people. Anything you can do so that people that come to work with you know that I want to work with Ali, but I'm working with Ali's team. I'm rarely, if ever, going to talk to Ali directly. The more you can do that, the easier it's going to be when that time comes.
At what point should people do create a will in case they haven't already, redo it, and touch on trust as well?
Yeah. So this would be more, I would talk to your attorney about this. And not near enough people have wills that if you have assets that you're going to pass down, you need a will. Otherwise, it's going to go into probate and it's going to be a mess and more taxes will be involved than are necessary. So as soon as you have any type of assets, whether it's real estate assets or even like 401ks or money in the bank or a business that you have that income's still going to come into, you'd have some type of will that designates where that money is going to go to after you pass away. As far as trust, like you're getting into a more complicated tax arena. Again, if you have assets that you need to start protecting, then I would start looking at a trust. And this should be a conversation that you're having with your attorney and your CPA because it's very specific to your business. Like you can get on the Bigger Pockets forum and everyone's gonna be like, oh, what you got to do is go create 7 LLCs and then have a trust under it. And then no one can ever come after you when they sue you. And that's all garbage. Like most people aren't going to even need a trust. And the ones that are, it's not going to be as simple as finding it on Bigger Pockets. So I'd talk to an attorney and talk to a CPA about it.
Drake and I recently set up a trust, and by we, I mean him. So he did that. He also, I'm so grateful, has taken over like all of the bookkeeping and all of the CPA, because that's something that, I just, self-admitted that I was the world's worst nightmare. And so I'm really grateful now that I have a partner I love it. Let me, nerd out on all the details. And so anyway, all that to say,
Well, I guess more so the stuff of what passes over to your spouse, right? Or to your kids. The fact that revenue share is willable, so the agents that are with EXP that have revenue share, in case just preparing for the future, what should agents within EXP, or I guess anybody else like Keller Williams, anybody who gets like profit share, revenue share, what should they do specifically in order to make sure that their spouse is set for success?
Yeah, and that's where a will comes in, and that's where if you don't designate that, you're kind of at the mercy of what the state says and even what your business says after you die. So that's where you're going to want to talk to an attorney, talk to a CPA, make sure it's all in place.
Okay, Josh, the time has come. You gave us a little teaser in the beginning about how your business has exploded. Maybe wasn't the word you used. I'm using it. Your business has been booming from your recent efforts on social media. Can you please share what you're doing and the results you're seeing?
Yeah, and I think I treat it maybe a little differently than a lot of the advice is be very targeted, right? Have a niche, have specific things you're talking about. People should come to you for stuff. And I've kind of went about more of I want people whenever they think of anything real estate related that they come and ask me a question. Part of that's because we also are investing in real estate, so we want to buy houses as well. But I want someone like, for example, a couple weeks ago, someone came to me like, "Hey, she messaged me on Facebook. She's never met me. The case someone told me that you know about houses, and I need to buy a house, and I can't find anything in my budget." So she had no idea what I even did. Didn't even really know what a real estate agent was. And then we were able to help her find an off-market property and get into contract today. So I just want people to come to me and be like, "Hey, I have this going on with real estate. Can you help me?" So another example, last Friday, someone from my hometown messaged me and said, "Hey, my husband's mom went into long-term care. She needs someone to buy her house quickly because of Medicaid stuff. So now we're able to do a cash offer and buy it and turn it into a rental property." So I don't want people to just think, "Oh, Josh helps people in this neighborhood list properties over $700,000. Like, I want them to come to me for any real estate question that they have, even if it's tedious and something I can never answer or don't want to answer. Like, I'm happy to help them in that and point them to someone that can. But I want them to come to me and see if it's something that I can help them with and turn it into something in my business.
Wow. So how specifically are you doing that within social media? What are you saying and where are you posting?
Yeah, so like I'm posting every time we do something in our rental business or our flipping business. I'm posting about it, posting the specific numbers, posting the remodel pictures, that kind of stuff. Anytime we get a new buyer or a new seller, I'm posting about it. Anything that happens, news with interest rates, I'm posting about it. And that's where I kind of use my finance and CPA background to really dig into the numbers and be like, "Hey, you might be hearing this about interest rates, but this is kind of what it actually means for you. You should be buying now with interest rates, whatever it is." So anything in the market, I'm posting about. And then so here's like an example of what happened. That girl reached out to me like, "Hey, I need to buy a house in this budget. I can't find anything on the market." So then I took that and went into her local Facebook page, her local buy and sell Facebook page. Said, "Hey, I have a buyer that needs something for $100,000. She's not picky. She needs something desperately." And I have 6 people reach out to me. "Hey, I want to sell my house. I was thinking about putting it on the market. You made me reach out to you." So one of those she's going to buy, and now the other 5 I might turn into listings. So it's been crazy.
Dude, that's incredible. Okay, before we get too far, I want to pull it back for platforms. Did you already mention? So you're posting anything and everything. Are you posting it on a bunch of platforms or which?
Instagram and Facebook, and then I do YouTube videos as well.
And with this posting, you mentioned that you're posting it yourself. What is
Yep.
your process? Are you just like the thing happens and then you sling it out immediately, or do you have a schedule set? What does your process look like?
Yeah, no, it's just anything and everything. It's random. I that's one thing I need to have is a better system of when I'm doing it. But right now it's just like in the moment. Like yesterday, I closed on a rental property and I posted a story about how I went and knocked on the house next door thinking it was mine and was like furiously trying to get these people out that were supposed to be out and realized that my house was next door. And I post that and then I get interaction. Like someone messages me about wanting to get into rental properties. So it's just random stuff like that.
Activity gets activity for sure. That's one of my favorite things lately. It's like the more that you push out into the universe, the more comes back to you. It's just amazing.
Right. And I would say that the other thing is I've been doing this for 6 months, like really hard at it. And there's times like this is never going to work. This isn't doing anything. And then boom, like over a 2 week span, we're just getting all kinds of stuff. So it takes a while to gain traction. And then every once in a while it just explodes.
I'm curious, so you're posting things, and when you say boom, the explosion, we have the one example about the woman and you potentially getting listing leads off of that scenario. What are some other examples of how people are they actually reaching out, or are you doing outreach to them based on comments or likes or something? What does that look like? Apple listeners, this short pause is to ask you for a review. Here's how to do it.
back out of the specific episode, go to the page where you see all the episodes, scroll down, keep scrolling. Perfect. Now tap those 5 stars. Thank you so much. Back to the show.
Yeah, so a lot of it is people actually reaching out to me. So I'll post it in these groups, like, hey, I'm looking for a house for $100,000, something that's like a crazy budget that you can't find. And then I'll specifically say, hey, if we get this with you, your real estate commissions will be half what they normally were. This will be a super easy process for you. And then they reach out to me like, hey, I was thinking of selling my house. But then sometimes people will just like it, and I'll go to them like, hey, I saw you like that. Do you have anything that you might be selling? So one of them, the one I actually got her under contract was with like that. She didn't reach out to me. She just liked it. And then I reached out to her.
I really like that. I like that, I think most people in that instance wouldn't take the initiative to reach out. They'd probably just wait. So that's really cool. So okay, so consistently over the past 6 months, you've been sharing anything and everything at no specific time frame, just in the moment as it comes. And now based on that, and being, solving people's problems as they come up, and being aware of any engagement, whether it be just a like, you have been able to get products out of that. So my next question, which Ali, it's a little bit of a segue. So if you want to do anything else on social media specifically, then what I'm curious about is, once you have these people, can you talk about your capture? So like, you're having these conversations, how are you capturing their contact information? And then from there, are you putting it in a CRM? What does your follow-up look like? That kind of piece.
Yeah, so you know how you said you're a nightmare with the bookkeeping stuff? This would be my nightmare. I'm not good at getting into the CRM and doing all the things I'm supposed to. So it is mostly like, they message me, I take down their number, I text them, I call them, whatever it is, I get their email. But so far, I've not been doing it into a CRM. So that's the next step of doing. That's actually, I need to make my wife do that, because she's good at that stuff and I am not. So
Dude, we
that's our
have a
next.
CRM accountability group once a week.
I know.
So
I know. I need to join
send her.
it.
Okay, gotcha. But right now, I'm sure, you probably have them, are you on the whiteboard or maybe a piece of paper, and you're remembering to follow up, or maybe this is a bad question.
Sure. Yeah. We're writing them down and putting them on a whiteboard and legal pad or whatever I have in front of me. But yes, we're making sure that we're actually following up with them.
Okay, cool. Okay, Josh, I'm curious about, kind of the way ahead. You are a newer agent. You have a lot of experience building businesses, selling businesses in the investment space. And as you look ahead for your agent business, what does that look like for you? And I'm curious about what the specific agent part looks like, but also like how it ties to investments in your overall goals.
Yeah, and it definitely does all tie together, right? So there's times I'll go on an appointment, someone wants to sell me a house, and I'll go there and I can't give them what they want. So I can just be like, hey, I can't give you that, but I can list it for you. And I think we can get that. So it definitely ties together. I would say going forward, I don't want to be the person that does 100 deals a year. That's never going to be me. I would like on the agent side to do 20 plus deals a year, and then use the other side to drive my business, whether it's finding rental properties, listing my own flips, whatever it is. So I kind of see it as like, the agent side brings in the revenue that we live off of, and then the investment side is what creates our long-term wealth.
Gotcha. Makes sense. Very exciting. Ali and I are both excited to be a part of your journey as it unfolds. And Josh, what did we not talk about today that you might want to share with the audience? Anything we missed?
So yeah, I've been in I've had my license since February, and I'd already been in 2 different brokerages. One was just like a no commit, like I didn't have to split commission. So it was great for flipping my own stuff, but offered no support or didn't help me build a business as an agent. Then the next one, a friend got me into one that gives you leads. And they gave me a few legit leads, but that was a nightmare for me because they basically thought you were employees, and I'm not good at that stuff. And then my wife would be like, what is wrong with you? Why can't you just do what they're asking you to do? And I just can't. It has to make sense for me or I can't do it. So then I started following Ali and then Shelby, and everything that you guys were doing made sense to me. It resonated with me. Like your social media stuff that you're doing, how you're talking about more than just being an agent. You're talking about the investment side. You're talking about building an actual business in this. So all that resonated with me. And then I started going to the trainings, and it just, everything about it was what I was looking for as an agent, but also as an entrepreneur that doesn't want to be an employee of a business, wants like support and training, but doesn't want them to be like, and this is how you run your business. So everything about that has been awesome and exactly what we needed.
That's awesome to hear. I love that because I agree. I mean, I interviewed 13 different brokerages, so I don't have any other brokerages like as a background, but I interviewed the type of person that I am. I interviewed 13 different because I wanted to make the right choice the first time and not move my entire business. But yeah, I definitely saw the differences there where even though I'm a 1099, people are expecting me to be in that office from certain hour to certain hour and do cold calls for their leads just because they decided to purchase Zillow leads. If I were forced to cold call, I would have been out of the business within 2 months if that was the only way for me to generate leads. So, but yeah, no, I agree with like just our business building mentality to retire early or at least have work become optional.
And even just like something as simple as like what you guys are wearing. Like, well, my last business, like, yeah, you got to suit up when you go to listing appointments. No, I'm gonna wear a t-shirt. And oh, make sure your tattoos aren't showing. No, I'm not gonna cover up my tattoos. That's stupid. So just like the people in 5 pillars, like you're in sweatshirts and t-shirts, and people have tattoos that show. Like something as simple as that, I think makes a difference in what brokerage you're choosing.
And I just want to say that like we're also really excited to have you on the crew too, because literally you were here for a week before, maybe not even that long, when I was like, hey, do you want to teach our entire, organization about your CPA backgrounds, what they should know? What was the actual title you came up with? It was really good.
Building a tax efficient sellable real estate business, I think.
Yeah, that's it. So all that to say, we're grateful to have you too and the value that you bring to our organization. So thank you.
Awesome. No, that's a part of it too. Like you guys are always looking to leverage the skills of other people on the team and like what they can teach other people. So it's awesome.
With so many different backgrounds and people like focusing on different things. Yeah, it's like a melting pot of just like information of people that are like subject matter experts in whatever topic they're in. So it's super cool. Headed to the wrap up questions. With all the businesses that you've worked in, sold, background, personal, I'm curious as to what your favorite app or tool is.
My favorite app or tool, man. I really like the one that you gave me, the Opus Pro, that you can create those videos and break it down into simple content. I use that all the time. For videos I'm doing, I use that Wondershare Filmora. Those are probably my 2 tools I use the most for my social media stuff.
I thought you were going to say QuickBooks.
No.
For real. Well, I guess you liked the 01 better.
Yeah. So we've talked about accounting enough.
Yeah. Okay, Josh, what events, if any, are you going to in the next 12 months?
So yeah, I just got back from an investing conference. I'll probably go to at least 2 more investing conferences next year. I'm part of a private investing group that they put on 2 a year that I'll go to. And then next year I get to go to the 5 Pillars meetup, right?
Pillars retreat. It's going to be, the next one will be Memorial Day weekend of this year. We have none of the details figured out yet, but absolutely, yes, writing you down to get one of those slots.
Perfect.
Because it fills up. So
cool. How can we help you in your business?
Man, anyone that wants to reach out about whether it's buying, you have a house to sell to me, or for us to list, or you're looking for a house, or you want to join the team. That's one of the other things. I had someone reach out to me. Hey, it looks like it's really cool what you're doing with your brokerage. I'm getting my real estate license. How could I join that team? So if you're interested in, we're happy to talk about that.
Perfect. And Josh, where is the best people who are interested to reach out to you?
Instagram, best place. Facebook, YouTube, any of those.
And that is Josh Bauerle, Josh _ Bauerle. Hit him up on Facebook, hit him up on the gram, hit us up also, Ali the Agent, The Shelby Show, The Agent Goldmine on the gram. And that is it. In case you have enjoyed this episode and gotten just at least one nugget, I know that you've gotten several though, give us a 5-star review. Hit him up, tell him thank you for being on the show. And to everyone listening, be a bro and share this show.
Ali, we need to start talking behind the scenes.
Definitely not me. I know everything. The audience,
Yeah.
Reconcile they're by themselves. Oh my God, I need to cut this out. This is so, wow, that was,
It's going in the bloopers. We're doing it. Questions, Ali?
Okay, I'm trying to like, I want to ask more questions. I don't even know what to ask about selling the business. I mean,
Thanks so much for listening, dude. If you want the golden nugget that this guest provided, see the show notes or just go straight to theagentgoldmine.com. That's where we keep all our resources for you. Till next time.